Hello and welcome back to Coding with T. In today's tutorial, we are going to learn how to create new category and store the new category data or any data inside our Firebase database. And also, we are going to update or edit category, and also we are going to update the category inside our e-commerce admin panel. So first of all, let's quickly have a look. Okay, our application is running and you can see the dashboard is loaded. But if we go to the categories and after a loader, all the categories appeared. In the previous tutorials, we try to create this table. We fill this table with the actual data we fetch from the Firebase database. We learn how the MVC model is going to work, how we are going to fetch the data in all the upcoming videos for products, banners, brands, customers, orders, coupons, everything, because the same way we are going to use the same technique, same method, same approach to fetch all the data, display all the data. So I just want to make sure that you have grab all the basic concepts from the previous videos and also from this video. And we are also going to create a unique video to save or reduce the code, so which is the next video about the abstraction classes. So for today's tutorial, when I'm going to click on this create new category, you can see we have a form. In the form, we have a category name, which is a text field. Then we have a drop down with all list of categories and subcategories. You can create categories and then inside you can also mention the subcategories. But we have over here list of all categories. Then we have a featured image. And when I'm going to click on this link, you can see a pop-up. So this is the pop-up that we created in the 30th video, 30 video of this e-commerce admin panel playlist, or typically in the media section of this playlist. So if you don't know how to create this type of pop-up, which is already created, I'll also drop the video link in the description. We can select any image over here, we can upload the image, we can add it, close it. So after that, we have a featured section, which is a checkbox to make this category as featured inside our app or not. And when we are going to create this, the new category will be created. I'm going to name it test category, and let's try to select its parent. For example, electronics is the parent of this category, and let's try to select one image, go to the categories, and it's loading the images. And now you can see we have bunch of images over here uploaded by definitely someone uploaded who is testing this application because it is publicly available. Let's say we are going to use the boy and girl, click on add. So we have the category image, which is this one. Click on create. You can see a loader. Once the category is created, we have a success message. And when I'm going to go back, and also you can see everything is now reset for the new data. So when I'm going to go back to the previous screen, go to the next page, and again I think next page, yes, we have test category over here with our image name. Its parent is electronics, it is featured, created at this time and date. So we can edit this. Let's click on it, which is the second part, and I'm going to change the category name to only delete me. And let's keep all the things same. If you want to change anything else, you can also do that. Let's again go to categories, and this time let's select this book with the pen. Click on add. You can see the picture is now changed. Click on update. The record is now updated. Let's go back, and you can see name is changed, picture is changed, rest of the things are same. So this is what we wanted. And in the previous tutorial we also learned how to delete this. So let's try to delete this record as well. And you can see item is deleted. We simply save extra reads from the Firebase. Instead of fetching all the data again from Firestore, we simply updated our lists. So let's get started with today's tutorial. Okay, so we are creating Flutter e-commerce admin panel, and you can see we are at the last section of our e-commerce admin panel to create the backend. We learn very basic concepts at the start before going to create next screens, because all the things are identical, and I'm going to show you that in the code as well. We learn how to fetch the data from Firebase using MVC pattern. We learn repositories, models, controllers, everything in that video, which is very important. If you're new and if you don't know what's happening, make sure to watch that. Then we have sorting of columns, searching of data table or whatever the values inside it, select single row, multiple row, delete data, and after that we are going to create now in this tutorial, which is create and update record. And after that, if I'm going to show you the code, let's open our Android Studio. If you go to the features, shop, controllers, and in the category controller, you see we have created bunch of variables. Then we have on init method, fetch data, sorting, sort by parent name, search query, delete action. This is the first pop-up. top, and then this is the main function, which is deleting, then updating items from the list. And in today's tutorial, we're going to also create two more functions over here, which is going to add new item in the list, so we can save extra reads and writes. Instead of fetching the new item from the database, we are going to simply add that item in the list, and also we are going to update that specific item from the list. So we have two more functions. So if you see here, we are going to repeat all these functions for, currently we are repeating it for the category controller. In the upcoming videos, we are going to repeat it for category, brands, banners, products, orders, customers. So a lot of things. If you keep on creating your admin panel, then you might end up with the same code created again and again. So to avoid repeating the code and also create something very useful, we are going to create abstract classes in the next tutorial, which is only one class, reusable. So for today's tutorial, I'm not going to do anything right now inside the category controller. Rather, let's create a new controller. Okay, so I have created two controllers. The first one is create category controller, and second one for the edit screen, edit category controller. In the first category controller, we are going to add all the variables required for our form, and same variables we are going to use in the edit category controller. So if we talk about the variables, the first one is selected parent, which is a type of category model, means we are going to store a category model of any category, which is the parent category. We are going to find that in a minute, but by default, we are going to use the category model dot empty method that we created also in the first video when we are going to fetch the data. So in that we created this empty model. So at this stage, category model is empty, but it is type of OBS, means if there is any change inside this model, not inside the values of the model, but typically in the model, then we are going to redraw the design. So after that, we have a loading, which is false. Image URL loading will be used when we are going to trigger the main function, and we will start the loading at the design, and image URL to store the image URL then is featured. Category name will be stored inside text editing controller, and this is the actual form key to check if the form is valid or not. First of all, before going to start working on the backend controller, let's go to the screens category, go to the create category, and inside the widgets we have a create category form. So let's open it. First of all, in order to access all the variables of create category controller, we have to create the instance of this class, and inside the build method, I'm going to create or load this controller using get.put. And once I have the controller, I can easily access all the values. So first of all, we have a form over here. So let's assign key of the form using create controller dot form key. Then in the text form field, let's create controller and assign create controller dot name, which is the text editing controller. Then if we talk about the drop down button, which is going to show all the categories, it is going to display all the already loaded categories. And if you go to the category controller, you can see we have all the categories already inside the all items or inside the filtered items. We need to display all the categories. And again, if we want to use the values of this class, we have to create the instance or use the instance of this controller. And again, I'm going to use it as get.put, name it category controller. Now using this category controller, we can easily get and display all the items. So instead of, let me cut it from here. Instead of displaying the drop down as a static data, I'm going to call category controller dot all items dot map. So this map function is going to return whatever we're going to create inside this function of this map. So it is actually a function. We are going to create it like this using fat arrows. And as a single value, we are going to receive the item. And now inside this function, I can paste the drop down menu item. And at the end of it, let's add dot to list, because we are going to return the list of drop down menu items, because this items need a list. Okay, so Control Alt L to align, and now we have all items dot map, and this is the function of the map. We're going to receive one item at a time or one category at a time, and inside the drop down menu, we are going to pass the value as item, and as a child row, we're going to use the text as item dot name, which will be the category name. Now there is one more thing. We have this on change, so that whenever there is change inside the drop down menu, user is going to select the new value. This on change is going to trigger, and this new value will be received, and we are going to use this new value as selected parent, right? So this new value is actually, you can see, a category model, and the selected parent is also a type of category model. So let me add it. Create controller dot selected parent dot value is equal to whatever new value is selected, whatever the new value is selected, And by this way, we have all the time selected parent with the new value, right? So, okay, but here is a scenario that I want to cover. If I'm going to open this and you click on categories, and meanwhile the categories are loading, we have a loader over here. User is going to click on this create new category, and at that time categories are not loaded, so we are going to face some error over here. So to avoid that, we're going to add the loader, the same loader which we have created inside the category controller for loading all the items. So let's add obx, wrap it a widget with the obx so that we can update the UI or the state. And in here we are going to use category controller dot is loading dot value. If it is true, if the loading is true, then as a loader I'm going to use this t shimmer effect, which is the loader we recently created using shimmer package, and this is how it is going to look like. Also, if it is loading, we're going to display this thing, and because is loading is a obx, and when the loading is completed we will be able to see our drop down. After that, we have the image of the category. Instead of displaying the static image, we're going to again call create controller dot image URL dot value. If the value of image URL is not empty, then we're going to display the image URL value, and if it is empty, we're going to display the static default value at first. The reason I'm passing the image URL, because when we are going to select the new image, we are going to assign the image inside the image URL. Again, because this is obx observable variable, and we have to wrap it with the obx widget, something like this. And whenever there is change inside the image URL, we're going to assign the image. Automatically design is going to redraw, and we will be able to see the new selected image. And also for the image type, use the same. If image URL is not empty, display the network image, otherwise the asset image. And now in here, let's create a function using create controller dot pick image. So this is the function which is going to display the media pop-up with all the options, and we can select desired image using this function. We're going to create it in a minute, but first let's scroll down, update this value, and on change value of the checkbox is featured. If it is true, value checkbox will be selected, and if this value is false, checkbox will be unchecked. And after that, we have on change. We're going to receive the state or the current state, and we're going to assign is featured value with the new value, either selected or not selected. And if this value is null, by default we will treat it as not selected. And then the last thing is, when this create button is going to be pressed, we are going to call a function create controller dot create new category or create category. So we're going to create these two functions now. First of all, let's try to call this pick image function. So create a method. The method is created. It's an empty function. It is not going to definitely return anything, and it will be async type of function, because we are going to call the bottom sheet and we are going to wait until the bottom sheet is going to return something. So for that, let me create a controller which is the media controller, and we have a variable over here, because using the media controller recently, if you already watched the 30th video, you can simply pause here and go and check out that video just for a quick recall. And I'm also going to walk you through. In that, we are going to receive list of images which we are going to store in the image model. So we have list of images either 0 or 1, so it can be nullable. I'm going to name it as selected images, which will be equal to, because we have to wait until that operation is completed, use a select or unselect or close the bottom sheet. So until then we have to wait. So that's why I'm going to add a wait sign. Now let's call the controller dot select images to upload. Now this one, select images from media. So this is the function that we created. So let's open it. In the media controller, we created this function, and in that function we have some optional values. If you want to pass, if you want to allow multi-selection, pass it true. If you do not want to allow even a selection, not for the single image or for the multiple images, make this as false. But by default, the current scenario is you can select some image because allow selection is true, and multiple selection is false, means you cannot select multiple images, one image at a time. So selected URLs, we cover each and every concept of this selected URLs and everything in detail. So no need to be worried, just watch that tutorial and everything will be on track. Okay, when we're going to call this, it is going to trigger this get bottom sheet. It is going to display a bottom sheet with the list of image models. So this is what we are going to be returned. And when we're going to return selected images from here, which we receive whenever the get bottom sheet is going to be closed. We're going to receive those selected images and we're going to return those selected images to the function, whoever is calling this one. So let's go back. We will receive single or multiple images because it is going to return list of images. So we have to handle that. So to handle that, I'm going to check if selected image is not is equal to null and is not empty. Then we are going to call get the one single image for the category because we only need one single image. If it is not null, then it means it has something and we only need the first selected image. Although user will not be able to select multiple images because we have multiple selection false. But still for the first image, we are going to call the selected images dot first from the list, and we have the selected image, and we're going to assign that selected image URL to the image URL dot value. So this is the variable at the top, and by this way, we will be able to get our desired image. So this comment is going over here. Now the next function is to create category, and if you open this to save the time, I have added try and catch. If we receive any exception, we are going to use the stop loader and we're going to display exception. First of all, in the try, we're going to definitely start loading using pop-up circular, and this is the widget, and inside that widget as a content we are displaying t circular loader. Once loading is started, we are going to check the internet connection. If we do not have the internet on, we are going to simply stop loading and return. And if you want to go through the network, let me show you this function is connected. So this is the connectivity class. This is a bit updated recently, so you can update your old code as well by following this one. After that, we have form validation. If form.current state is validated, fine. If it is not validated, then we're going to again stop loading and return from here. And before removing the loader and displaying a success message, we need to do something important because we need to map all those values on top of the model, and then we're going to send that model to our repository so that we can create that category. So first of all, create a category model and fill all the information. So we have ID, which is empty because ID will be created only when the category will be created, only when the new category will be created. So at that time, we will have the document ID, but at this stage, we do not have any ID. Image, we are going to get it from the image URL, name from the name text field, created at now because at this time it is going to be created, is featured, whatever is inside this is featured variable, and the parent ID is from the selected parent. Once we have this record, what we are going to do, we are going to call our category repository because it is going to perform, repositories are going to perform cloud operations. So for that, we have to make sure that there is a wait sign. Call category repository dot instance dot create. We have to create this function, a function in which we are going to pass the new category model so that this model can be stored inside our database. So hover over this, create a method in the category repository. Let me, instead of creating this one, let me copy this and duplicate it one more time. Let's change this name. So I've changed the name to create category. We're going to receive the category inside this variable. Now at the top you can see we have Firebase Firestore instance. We're going to use that instance, call the collection, and inside collection we have the collection name. Make sure this name is same for getting, deleting and updating the record as we are going to store the category name. If there is no data before inside this collection, it will automatically be created as a new collection. And using dot add function, we are going to, because this add needs a JSON data. So you can see this is a map, means it is a JSON with the key and value pairs. So in order to send or pass the JSON to this add function so that we can add that data inside our Firestore, inside this category model, we have two JSON functions. If you remember, again, you can watch the first video of this section in which we created this JSON model, and it is going to return these curly brackets. It is a map, this is a key, and this is a value pair, key value again with the comma separated. And once we have all the data mapped on these values, we will return the JSON, and that JSON will be added to our database. Once it is added, we are going to receive the ID of that document which is now created, and we're going to return that ID back to from where it is called. So let's go to the controller, and this time, because currently while creating this ID was empty, but at this stage, let's, once the ID received, I'm going to assign new record dot ID is equal to whatever ID we received once this data is stored, we're going to receive one ID and we're going to receive that ID in the same record over here. And the reason is because we need the ID so that we can store the actual record with the ID inside our list in the table instead of again fetching that from the database, which is going to save us a lot of reads. So I'm going to call the category controller using category controller.instance. Make sure every time you're going to create the instance, if the instance is already not created, then this means that you can see the instance means get.find. So if there is no already created instance, it is not going to find it and you will see an exception. And in that case, you just have to call get.put and pass your category controller and then use its functions. Now, if we again go to the category controller and hover over this, create a method inside category controller, same like the way we added remove items from list in the previous tutorial. In this tutorial, we're going to add those items in all these lists. Okay, I've added all items dot add. So this add is not going to remove, but rather going to extend or add new item inside already added items. So you can see we in the example we have 1, 2, 3 already added, and dot add is going to add the 4 elements. So now we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. So the item is going to be added in the all items, then we have the filtered items, again add the new item in it, and in the selected rows we have to add one more row for that. So what we're going to do, we are going to, instead of adding the row, we are going to assign all, means remove whatever already selected row contains or this variable contains and create the new list based on all items, and then again refresh all items. Rather, we are going to use the filtered items because in the table we have the filtered items, and whenever there is change in the filtered items, our table will redraw itself and the new added item will be displayed using the filtered items. Okay, now the last thing is to create a function to reset the fields, create a method. Now to reset all the fields or the variables that we have at the top, selected parent, we are going to assign again an empty category model. Loading will be false, is featured false because these are the RX type of variables. That's why we can pass the false like this. Then we have name, which is a text form field, make it clear. Image URL is empty, and we are done with our create category class. Now it's time to run this application. Okay, so our application is running. Let's try to log in. Let's go to categories and it is loading the data. And you can see we have all the categories loaded. And when I'm going to click on this create new category, it is going to take us to this form. And this time let's try to add something like test. As a name, we are going to use the sports as parent category, select some image. I think we forgot to add space between these two things. So to fix that, let's go back to the media controller and inside the bottom sheet, let's open the media content. And in the row, we have select folder and then media folder drop down, means this is the first row and these are the widgets that we're going to display, or these are the buttons that we are displaying using a function. So inside this row we have to add main axis alignment, use space between, refresh the code, and for that you have to again close the bottom sheet. Once it is loaded, let's again try to name it, add some sports equipment category, and as a pop-up still we are not able to see anything changed. So it's my mistake. Instead of adding that in the top row, I mistakenly added inside the text folder and media dropdown. So let's save it again. This time click on it and you can see these two buttons are on the right side. Let's select some folder, go to categories, and over here we do not have anything. So let's select some images. Let's say we want to use this image as our category image. So click on upload. Yes, we want to upload it and you can see it is uploading. It is going to take a bit of time. Okay, so image appeared. You can see we can select one single image at a time. Currently, we also have one image, but let's select it, click on add, and you can see that image right over here. We cannot toggle this featured. Maybe we forgot to add OBX. Yes, we need to add OBX on top of our checkbox, and now it should be toggleable. Let's save it. Now you can see it is toggleable. Let's make it featured. Click on create and you can see the record added. Okay, now once the category is added, now let's go to the last section and you can see the test sports is the parent category and we have the icon that we added with the featured. This is the date and time. So the next thing that when we are going to click on this edit screen, We want to make sure that all the data first loaded over here, and once the data is loaded, we want to update the data. And also you can see currently we have this create button, so we will change it to update, and all the variables are same, so I'm going to create the same controller. Okay, here I've created the category, edit category controller. All the variables are same, and instead of the create category, I change the name to update category. Same way we're going to receive the category which needs to be updated. Start the loader, check internet, form validation. Here we have something changed, and after that reset fields, stop the loader, and rest of the things are same. The same pick image function and reset fields function. But here instead of creating a new category model, because we need to update this, and this category now contains the id of the document. So based on this category, we just need to make sure that the new image url assigned to this image, the text, whatever is inside the text form field, we need to assign that name over here. Selected parent to parent id, and is featured to is featured, and date time. Now this time we're not going to change the created add variable. Instead, we're going to change the updated add variable to date time dot now, and created add will remain same. So first of all, before calling the repository to update this data and also update the data list, first of all, you can see we have the init data, means we have to initialize the data because we are going to receive the category. If we go back to the category form inside the edit category, down below, instead of create, change the button name to update, and we need to change the form completely. And you can see inside the edit category form, we are going to receive the category, and we are going to use this category to initialize all these variables over here. So we are going to get that data, convert or pass that data one by one to all these variables, and these variables are definitely displaying the data to the design. So first let's create a function. Function name is init. You can name it anything. It is not overrided on init method, but it is simply init method. And inside this init method, I am going to pass the category, whatever category I'm going to receive, and I'm going to get the name of the category assigned to the name using text because it's a text form field. Then is featured to is featured, image to image URL. And in the if statement, first of all, we are going to check that if the parent ID inside category exists, this means that there is a parent of this category, and we have to fetch that parent based on all items because we only store the parent ID, not actual category, and the selected parent is a complete category as you can see. So we need to get the complete category and assign that category based on the ID to this selected parent. So we'll call the category controller dot instance dot all items, and inside using where clause, category ID is equal to the category we receive dot parent ID, and when it's equal, we're going to get the single result and assign that to the selected parent. Once the initialization is completed, we will call this init method inside the edit category form, and over here we have to first initialize the edit category controller, and after that we are going to call that init function. So we created the edit category controller instance, and using that instance we are able to call that function, and we will pass that category edit controller dot init method, and inside the init method we are going to pass the category that we will receive as a design. So if you go back to edit category, in this category previously we are just adding the dummy category, so we are not actually receiving the exact category from the all categories form. So if we are going to go to the table, this is the on edit press, and when the edit press is going to be triggered inside a single row, let's say user want to open the first row, at that row we have some category and we want to pass that category in the arguments. And once this category assigned, now inside this class, which is the edit category, which is this screen, instead of signing the dummy category, because at that time for the design purpose we didn't focus on that, so we have to call get dot arguments because we are only sending one single argument, so we do not need to pass any key or any index to get the arguments list. So we have the single argument over here, and that argument will be passed down below to all screens, desktop, tablet, and mobile. And in the desktop, we're going to receive that category and we will pass that category to the form, and the same way from mobile and tablet as well. And once we receive that category, we are going to create the instance of edit controller, create the init method, and now we have all the values already assigned to the variables, and we just have to call the keys. And I've added all the things the same way we created a category controller to display all the drop down menus as we done for the create category. And once we have all the items, Control Alt L to align so that we can view it properly. And to assign the selected values, you can see the name was already assigned as a value. We have already assigned the selected parent because this time selected parent is not null. And if it is not empty or not null, then we are going to get the whatever value stored inside the selected parent and we're going to display that as a value. On change items are remain same. So then we have the image uploader same way we have created earlier. Then we have the checkbox and also the button. Whenever we're going to trigger the update, we will call the update category using controller and pass the current selected category. And once that is going to receive here inside the update category, we have that category. And now we're going to create a function inside the repository. Okay, again, the same way we're going to call the category repository dot instance, but this time the function will be update category and we will pass the category with all the updated values. And once it is done, we will call the category controller dot instance and we will create a function update items list. So first let's create the update category method. So let's open the category repository. Just have to press Ctrl D to duplicate, change the name to edit category or its update category. And also we are not going to return anything because we already have the updated IDs. So in this case, while creating, we are going to send the updated ID. But in this case, we already have the ID because based on this category dot ID, we are going to extract that document which we want to update. And then we are going to call the update method and we are going to pass again category dot to JSON, which is going to completely update the complete model. And by this way, we have completed the CRUD. We have get all categories, which is read, create, update, and down below delete. Means the CRUD is completed inside the category repository. And you can see the error is gone. And once data is stored, we just want to also update the items list. So for that, we have to go to the category controller and down below where we have remove items from list, add items to list, and down below we are going to create update items from list. Okay, first of all, inside this function we have to call the all items dot index where we have to find this item first of all inside that list and what is the index of that element, because based on that index we will be able to update, right? So to find the index we have to call all items dot index where, and using each index we are going to loop through all of them and we are going to find the item. So this I is actually a category model and we're going to pass this category model. So once it is equal, it will return us the index, and same way we're going to find the index of filtered items. Once we have that, to update, we first need to check that if item index not is equal to -1 means we have something in the index and the index is valid, and then based on that index we're going to call the all items at current index. We're going to update that index value with the item, right? So this value will be overridden with this item or with the latest category, and same way with the filters. And at the end, we're going to update the filtered items using dot refresh. In most cases, it is not needed to call the refresh forcefully because whenever there is change inside them, they will automatically redraw itself, or the OBX widget is listening to the change, and whenever there is change, the widgets will automatically redraw itself. This is the benefit of using reactive programming using GetX. And by this way, we are almost done with today's tutorial. Now let's run it again. Okay, so our application is running. Now let's try to edit this one and try to change it from featured. So click on edit icon. Okay, we have an issue over here. Although we receive the data, sports, there is no parent category, image of that category, and also it is featured, but we have an error. Let's go to edit category form, and yes, we mistakenly added OBX on top of the button, and that OBX is giving the error because there is no observable variable inside it. Okay, now let's try to click on it again, and this time you can see we have the update button with all the data that we needed. And also let's try to use this one because it has a parent category. So this time parent category should be sports. So it is working. Let's try to make it featured. Click on update. We have a progress indicator. After that, you can see record has been updated. Now let's go back, and yes, you can see the featured icon is now displayed. This means that this sports equipment is featured and we are successfully able to update the record. And by this way, we are done with today's tutorial. If you have any questions, you can ask me down below in the comments. And if you want to download the complete code, you can get the link down below in the description. Once again, thank you for watching And if you're new, you can subscribe the channel and hit the bell icon to get notified for all the upcoming videos. And take care.